What up, Who Dey Nation? It's your boy Justin Lacey here, joining you with my boy Tim Lyons here. How you doing today, Tim?
I could have had a better day, but you know the behind the story of that. But I'm okay.
That didn't sound super convincing. And yeah, you did share with me in the backstory regarding your situation, your day to day, man. And they'll throw off anybody's day. Do you want to share with the people of what
Yeah.
transpired today?
So this morning so I work from home, and I come out. I come into my office. I turn on my computer, my laptop, and I'm everything's good. I'm like, okay, oh, I see that Windows has got an update. I was like, so let me go ahead and clock in, and then I'll do the update. So it doesn't sit there and remind me all day long, hey, you got to do this update, or when you want to do this update. So I was like, okay, I'll just do the update now. Update goes through. My computer is restarting because it did the update, and nothing but a black screen, just black screen of death. My computer's dead. It's dead in the water. Now I got to drive all the way up to Kirkland, Washington, which is about an hour and some change, because of if you ever drove here in Seattle, Washington area, traffic is awful. People can't drive. It's going to rain tomorrow, so it's going to make my day even worse. So yeah, that's my computer crashed, and it's not coming back alive. I told my IT analyst, I said I have one of two options. I can take it outside and I can shoot it with my 45, or I can bring it up to you and you can change it out for a new one. She said, let's just go ahead and switch it out for a new one.
We got our boy Afton for reading in the comments. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, I probably butchered your last name there, man. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. And he just kind of just said that he's always scared of those Windows updates. Look, man.
Afton is a woman.
Afton, sorry about that. Look, man, I'll just tell you this. I'm with you all. I'm with both of you. I can't stand IT problems. I can't stand computer problems. Anytime I do get an alert for a computer update, I'm very hesitant. I almost like I got to read the fine print to understand what I'm getting into, because I just don't like dealing with technology problems. And now we're in a situation where we're all working remotely these days. We're also in a situation where technologies just dominate the field of our lines of work, especially if you're in the field of just computer sciences and stuff like that. And when you experience trouble, it just throws your whole day off. It's almost like it just ruins your mood.
Yeah, I was pissed. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was pissed. I was in a grumpy mood this morning. And so whatever, it is what it is.
Usually when I see an update happen, I am one of those individuals where I'm not one of those people that will go and just take care of the update first. It's like when I upgrade phones. I usually wait a while. Wait till the masses go through their bug fixes and changes and all that stuff, and then I'll go and do it. You know what I mean? So
nope. I made the mistake of doing it right away, and I normally don't. I usually make it wait. And I was like, no, let me just take care of it. No, that's a bad idea.
No, but at the end of the day, you were trying to be proactive, and quite frankly, it just sucks that you had to go through that kind of day, man. Obviously, it's not a good day, and you know who else we found out didn't have a good day? I'll start with this, man. First and foremost, before we get into the news and nuggets here, make sure you please like this video. Please comment, subscribe, and rate this review so we can get those 5-star notifications. Our boy Brandon Harry is not joining us today. He is out actually taking flight, so he is not available. So me and Tim, you dealing with us today, which is fine, because we're going to be cooking on the show regardless. If it's one person, 2 people, 3, 4, because we got to include our boy Chase Yance, who does the Cut to the Chase podcast as well too. There's a lot of good content that has been produced out there in Bengals Nation and Football Nation and the football landscape media world to begin with. We're just one of the shows, and we're just proud to be here to be able to talk with you all today. So I want to start with this. Monday night, obviously the Bengals won, and it was good. It was a feel-good thing. No matter how you want to divide up your feelings about it, as far as like if you were impressed with the outcome or not, as far as like the performance itself. We were all impressed and happy with the win, essentially, except for those anchors that want to tank and stuff. But more pressing news that came about, that happened, that we all figured out immediately after the game, that our star quarterback Joe Burrow's house was vandalized and broken into that very same night as he was in Dallas finishing up the game. And it was reported widespread throughout the news. And realistically, man, you got to feel for Joe in that situation. And what I've come to learn about the situation is this has been happening quite a bit to star players here. Tim, we talked off air about it, and I'll bring it on the air here. Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce were victims of this exact same situation much earlier in the season as well, too. And that's
Mhm.
kind of like really insulting to these quarterbacks or to these players, these pro athletes that really take onus and care of their privacy. And Joe Burrow is a very private person, and he spoke today to the media for the first time since obviously the ensuing incident. Obviously, given the situation that we got the Tennessee Titans on their schedule on Sunday. And he opened up by pretty much just stating, look, man, everybody is obviously aware of what happened, but it is really annoying and really frustrating to see that his privacy was pretty much just vandalized like that. And
Yeah.
you feel for that guy, man. Um, you hate to see anybody go through any type of situation of theft or robbery, whether if it's in a car. I'm one of those people that I will get so angry if somebody steals a deck of cards from me,
Mhm.
even if I ain't bound. Bro, I'm throwing hands on you. I just want to fight somebody. Like it's that situation for me. And just imagine that times 1,000, how he must have felt when his personal home was vandalized, man.
Yeah.
What's your feelings on this, Tim?
I understand that these guys are out in the public. They're public. Everything is public knowledge or whatever. But like you said, Joe Burrow is a very private person, and he's working on getting comfortable with him being in the public eye. He's always been this way. And for somebody to come into your home and break into your home and vandalize it and steal things, also just that personal stuff. That's people got to find something better to do. I don't
Right.
know if it's if it's a certain group that's doing this stuff to pro football players or what, but it's just not there's no reason for it. There's no reason for it. You gotta keep your home safe, and now we're going to this point of it's getting even worse, and you just I don't know. It just doesn't set right with me. It kind of pisses me off a little bit. And even if it happened to Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes or whatever, it just kind of pisses you off that people have nothing better to do.
Yeah, man. And you think about the situation that unfolded, this past year with players like Brian Robinson Jr. getting shot. You
Yeah.
know, what's his name? Ricky
What's his name
Pearsall.
from the 49ers.
Yeah, man. It's stuff like that is where it's like, man, these athletes, their livelihood should not be questioned just because they're pro athletes. I don't know what had to transpire for them to even be in some sort of quintessential danger of this magnitude, but it's unacceptable. And yeah, it makes me mad for them. It makes me want to just kind of become a vigilante on behalf of them. And I did like the masses of most of Bengals Twitter, myself included, when we heard about it and we saw it. We were just retweeting the living hell out of it, talking about you mess with my quarterback, I'll be out in front of his house with a shotgun protecting his fence for him.
Right. Right.
Because you better leave my quarterback alone, and you better leave any of our star players alone.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's just maddening, and I really also hate that a lot of misspreaded information is going about the wrong way. People are taking the wrong negative connotations, like his new dating life and stuff. That stuff should be so personal and under the wrap, man. Don't nobody need to be knowing about this kind of stuff. Stay out of people's businesses, man. And I understand we're in a gossipy era. Especially our girls and our female fan base of Joe Burrow, they want to know who he's dating and whatnot. My response to you is that lay off of it. Okay, leave it alone.
Yeah.
Focus on your own dating life. All right. So it is like I'm not going to spend too much too much more on the subject because we both express our frustration with this for him. And obviously, it's maddening that he has to deal with something like this. You wish that obviously the things were different, but in his mind, I just believe that he'll probably figure out a way to move on. I mean, he's Joe Burrow. He's a soldier. He has this very stoic personality to where I'm sure that he won't really let it bother him to the point where it's going to negatively affect his play on the field. But even if it does, like I'm just to the point where it's like, let's just protect these guys, man. They work too hard. And for jealousy to rear its ugly head with the public and stuff like that, they don't need none of that. So, but on some other news that he did share within his press conference, Joe Burrow talked about T. Higgins. And a question was asked about T. Higgins regarding looking at the quintessential needs that this Bengals roster is going to need as they progress forward into next year. We already know that Joe Burrow's second contract looms large in cap space for the next offseason, and it's going to kick in next year. So, and you got contracts like Jamar Chase, and you got potential situations of what's going to happen with Trey Hendrickson, and even Orlando Brown Jr.'s contract still is going to be in the teeth of that. And but the overall conversation that this fan base and many others in the national media was always worried about, what is the Bengals going to do with T. Higgins? It seemed like that it was all but said and done that T. Higgins was not going to be a part of the Bengals' future plans after this season. Well, if you heard Joe Burrow talk today and also after the game, there were rumblings and conversation that he is probably making directed toward the front office that T. Higgins is a need and he wants him back, and that he's prepared to also do whatever he needs to do to make sure he make that happen. Look, man, I get it, man. T. Higgins has a huge injury history and whatnot with soft tissue injuries and stuff like that. He missed 5 games already this year, but nothing in our right framework of mind should have always deterred us away that we don't deserve weapons, that we shouldn't re-sign T. Higgins. I think that the vast majority wanted him back, but they just wanted him back under a certain reasonable price. But hearing that Joe Burrow stated that, Tim, what is your ultimate feelings regarding this?
You know, I have my mixed feelings about this whole T. Higgins thing. I have my mixed feelings about Joe Burrow's contract. And then so let's break it down like this. Joe Burrow next year is going to be making like $55 million a year. Like 10 million of that bonus is going to be coming out of our salary cap as well. So in order for this to all work out and for the Bengals to have a successful season, Joe Burrow's, and I'm being a realist here, Joe Burrow's going to have to restructure his contract, restructure it or something, because there's no way that we're going to be able to keep T, Jamar Chase, and restructure or facelift this defense. Who cares if Joe Burrow has T. Higgins and Jamar Chase to throw the ball to? Because in the end, the defense is going to get killed. Or, excuse me, our defense is getting killed. This has been happening. This has been going on. We had a top 10 defense in 2022, 2021, 2022, whatever the hell season it was. Yeah, that's great. Fantastic. Do I like that Burrow's lobbying for T? I do. But to me, it's either he's going to be a Cincinnati Bengal next year or he's not. And if he's not, that means we need to re-sign Gesicki. We absolutely need to keep somebody. But we got to figure out how we're going to be able to keep T, keep Jamar Chase, Gesicki, facelift, give our defense a facelift all in this whole thing. But Joe Burrow is getting, and I'm not saying that Joe, don't get me wrong, any of you Cincinnati Bengals fans that are listening, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Joe Burrow's, took that bag and he's the happiest man on earth, went and bought him a $2.1 million Batmobile. This is not my point. My point is the only way that we're going to be successful as the Cincinnati Bengals is if Joe Burrow restructures that contract and they build everything back up. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs. Look what Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs has done. Look what Tom Brady did in his years. Tom Brady's the GOAT. He was taking pay cuts just so he can build that team and win championships. He won 7 championships. There's a reason why he won 7 championships. During those 7 championships, Tom Brady didn't win those games. If you look at the games, those defenses won those games. The New England Patriots didn't win that game against the Seahawks because, not just because Russell Wilson threw a interception, but that interception happened because of the defense. So in order for us to be successful, Joe Burrow's going to have to restructure that contract, and they're going to have to do some creative accounting and facelift our defense. Without that, I don't care if T. Higgins resigns or not, because in the end, we're still going to be 5-8 next year at this time because our defense sucks. Our defense is awful. The only good defender we have on the whole team is Trey Hendrickson. We all know that. Trey Hendrickson's the only good defense we have. That's not going to win championships. We're not built like the Pittsburgh Steelers or Even the Cleveland Browns, they have a hell of a defense with Myles Garrett and their cornerbacks and their safeties and everything. Look at the Steelers. They have TJ Watt. They have Highsmith. Oh my gosh, I can name all kinds of different guys. JPJ, all those guys. They're going to win championship. They don't even have to have an offense to win games. They don't. All they need is defense. So before let me end this rant. But I am happy to see that Burrow is lobbying for T. Higgins. But when it happens is when I'll believe it. That's all I can say.
Look, I'm of the camp of understanding both sides of the coin here. I'm one to believe that T. Higgins is a valuable part of this offense. I am also of the notion that you don't want to have a lot of equity tied up into only 3 players and literally leaving scrap for the rest of the roster as well, too. But here's what I'll say to add context to the Bengals' current situation, and it can be a pretty fruitful one, actually. We all believe that Joe Burrow is just getting all this money up front, and Jamar Chase is obviously going to sign a lucrative deal, which is rightfully so. He's deserving that, and T. Higgins as well, too. And that it's just going to leave nobody else to get any sort of other cash flow or anything else. That's actually false, because if we look at the current construct of what the Bengals cap space is, the Bengals cap space is really healthy, and they've always had a healthy cap space. And if they make the additional moves of cutting these deadweight contracts that they brought on this year, like the Sheldon Rankins and the Geno Stones, and parting ways with guys like the Sam Hubbards, you can find yourself having over $100 million in cap space. And here's another secret, guys. Joe Burrow's cap hit is only $46.5 million. That's less than the $55 million on average year value that he signed his contract a year ago. It doesn't really truly kick in at $55 million until the following year. And when you restructure, you're just kicking money down the road just to be able to add certain guys in. I don't even think that Joe Burrow would need to restructure his contract for next year. I think it's going to be needed to be restructured for the following year afterwards when those other guys start signing their deals. No one else is really getting paid. So you can afford, I say all that to say this, you can afford the luxury of giving two of your best players on your team, and Jamar Chase, obviously, and then T. Higgins, the bank. You can afford that luxury. Now, I just understand that people don't want to overpay for the value of T. Higgins based off of what you've seen up to this point. But, man, trust and believe this. If T. Higgins go to another team, he's going to ball out. Nobody cares about the soft tissue injury history. He's going to ball. Let's say if he signs with the Buffalo Bills, pair him up alongside with Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
You're going to see those guys ball out like crazy. The thing is, you deserve nice things here in Cincinnati too. And T. Higgins is a nice thing here in Cincinnati. He's homegrown. He's talented. The issue that we've had with the Bengals front office is that they haven't paid guys that they should have paid long-term contracts to, like a Jesse Bates. DJ Reader, they did bring him in as a free agent off the street, but they also gave him a nice lucrative deal. But he saw the end of it, but they didn't re-sign him hard enough. You know, they could have gave him a nice little bigger pay raise, but coming off an injury history he did, I understood the decisions why they had to make at some points, but at the end of the day, you can't be bereft of talent in other spots of the roster, especially when you're adding a situation where you're not drafting guys well. The issue is that the Bengals are just not drafting these guys, their replacements at all. Well, like, how many misses are you going to continue to have? And I think when you look at all of that, that will then bring into the question of, okay, I can understand if Cam Taylor-Britt would have panned out as a number one corner and you would have had to get ready to pay him. I can understand if Geno Stone and Myles Murphy would have taken those progressive steps and then the defense was going to be even better than it was in the past. I can understand that you're going to have those contracts to consider and that maybe T. Higgins probably need to be the odd man out. But literally no one's developing on this defense. So what you got to do is reinvest in that. Maybe it's money, but you can't always just throw money on it. You're going to literally do the exact same that you did last offseason, next offseason, by just throwing a lot of money, basement, mid-level contracts to some bottom-of-the-barrel free agents here and there, or some clearance rack deals to try to repair this defense. And if you're running it back with the same coordinators, that's not going to help the situation. And then you letting T walk in, your offense gets worse. And yes, we got the draft and all that, but the draft is a crapshoot, and we don't want to get predictable here. But we don't know how the draft plays out. All I'm just simply going to say is look, man, if you got a homegrown talent in here and T. Higgins is shown that he can be a core value foundational piece for you, just keep him. Just keep him. And it also does add another little benefit that I don't know how true this is. We're only just hearing it from a report, but T. Higgins is potentially looking to switch off an agent, and he no longer has the representation of Dave Mulligetta. Again, I don't know how true and factual that is, but if that is true, then the works of behind the scenes work of maybe probably getting a deal could look to be able to be in the future. And it's going to be a pretty good value to bring him back on this team. And also, too, I think that you just can't be scared to just pay the big bucks to win. I just that's at the end of the day, that's how I'm going to end that rant off of. I'm kind of a little lost on that, but you can't be scared to spend the big money to win. This organization they got to understand what works for this team. When teams look at this Bengals offense, man, people don't want to admit it, but a lot of teams are scared to death to go against Burrow, Jamar, and T. Okay. They probably can feel like they can handle Jamar, and they're wrong. But Joe, Jamar, and T in this offense, and they just showed you this year, albeit the record hasn't shown. Man, these guys are dominating, man. And I think that you deserve to be able to see what you can do long-term with this group. And if other guys coming up the draft, like we draft future receivers, because again, the receiver position hasn't panned out in the draft either since those guys. We don't know what we have long-term wise when it comes to like the Jermaine Burtons. I was wrong about that so far. The Charlie Jones, Yoshi looks like a good supplemental value pick, but do you really invest in him long-term as a 6th-round pick? He hasn't shown you much. There's the times where he disappears and doesn't even catch a pass. And I like Mike Gesicki too. But all of these things, I feel like that you need to see this pressure that Joe Burrow and company are putting on the front office because they have a lot more power than they realize. And I think that the Bengals need to be forced to modernize by their own players. If they're not going to do it on their own free will, then the players need to do it for them. And they got to be able to be willing to adjust. So,
yeah. And like I said in the past, I said, Joe Burrow needs to professionally, talk to the owners, the front office, Zach and Lou, and go, hey, we need to fix this crap. We need to win football games. And it's either you do that or we're just going to be the same way we are right now, 5-8.
Yeah. Well, we've spent a lot of time talking about T, and, for all good reason as well, too. Again, man, it's a player stepping up for a player in the midst of cloudy situations. We don't know what the future holds. They just know that they just got to go out there and just continue to try to win football games. And we're going to get into this Titans matchup here relatively shortly because that's what the episode title is for. It's to preview the Tennessee Titans matchup. But I do want to bring up another little bit of news and nugget that we kind of seen float around the league here. So if you're a stranger to the show and also of Bengals media in general, there's been a lot of floating conversations about head coaching opportunities in the future if they were to part ways with Zach Taylor and company after the season is done, especially if the season goes far and awry and the Bengals miss the playoffs. As right now, it looks like the early prognostications look to be that way. It is fair to wonder if Zach Taylor's future is in doubt. And most people do believe that. I know I kind of do because you can't continue to run it back with mediocrity to below average anymore. And that floated out the conversation and the idea of certain former head coaches named like Bill Belichick being a part of the conversation. Yeah. I would have loved to have had Bill Belichick here as far as like the next potential head coach, but we got word today, official word today, earlier this evening, that Bill Belichick is headed to college. He's going to be coaching them. This is actually one of my favorite schools, University of North Carolina, the Tar Heels. That powder blue, he's going to be donning that powder blue along the sidelines. Look, man, this took me by a hell of a surprise, man, when I first heard of this news that he was in conversation with the athletic director and all that. But Tim, I got to hear your thoughts first, man, because what do you feel about Bill Belichick in college?
I'm going to be just straight to the point. I think Bill Belichick's going to be hanging out in the dorm rooms and trying to get him a 22-year-old piece or something. I'm sorry, but Bill Belichick as a college coach, that's like letting Urban Meyer be a college coach again. I don't know. Good for him. I figured he was going to stay in the NFL, but he went to, he's going to college. So, hey, you know what? If that's what he wants to do, if he thinks that he can make a difference in, these kids' lives. But, as we know, college football ain't the college football that we grew up on. College football now is all about NILs and paying these players and transfer portals and all that stuff now. So, they can pretty much pay for a team. If they can pay for a team, he can get a team now. For North Carolina, they have Bill Belichick as their coach. That's pretty big. That's pretty big. But on other news, I did see that Eric Bieniemy was fired from UCLA as well.
Yeah.
So what's going on with where's he going to go? Is he going to come back to the NFL as an OC or what? Who knows?
I'm going to start off with the Bill Belichick, and I also want to touch a little bit briefly about Eric Bieniemy too, because I know that he was a hot commodity name for a few years ago, and now it just seemed like he just disappeared in space until you heard that he was fired at UCLA. My thought about Bill Belichick is I think that he is super smart enough to understand that he's not going to take any sort of job if there's not a true plan involved. And I do believe that he is really just setting up the future for his son to be able to take ownership of the team, coach the team in the future once he is officially done with coaching. I don't think it's a long-term gig at all. I think this is a stopgap position for him to be able to set a standard, high standards at that, and to be able to understand that, look, after I'm gone, my son is going to be the successor to my head coaching tenure here at the college, just because I think that he wants to have his sights set a little bit higher and coming back to the NFL. I truly believe that. Now, there's also other plans in place, I'm sure. I'm sure that he gave, from what I saw, that he gave like a true thought out plan that he written out and then submitted it to the athletic director to be able to share with them. Here's the thoughts and the feelings of how it is to fix this operation, to fix the team. And with this, here's what I would like. And then it was just the negotiation side of things. So I don't think it's just all about like recruit. I don't see Belichick being a grassroots recruiter. But when I do think of the early days of Bill Belichick as a coaching savant, he did recruit a lot of big-time NFL free agents. When you think of the early Patriots dynasty, the 2003 Patriots team more specifically, he was priding himself so much on a sound fundamental defense that he made calls himself, and he landed Rodney Harrison. He flew him out and then met with him at a small restaurant and then had a conversation with him. And then next thing you know, Rodney Harrison's working out the numbers with his agent, and then he's signing here. So it's not like that Bill Belichick is going to just hand the reins to somebody to do all of the calls for him. No, he's going to get into the weeds and start doing it himself. He's also a guy that's going to be willing to coach college athletes on a more fundamental level for them to be prepared to go to the next level. And I do think that Bill Belichick just probably needs to be able to challenge himself and have a change of pace, that he has to be able to modernize his style of coaching. Maybe this is a strategic move that he gets to adapt with the young nucleus of college athletes so that way he can prepare to come back to the game and understand how now the game is played. And I think that it's a strategic move. Who knows if it'll work long term or not. It might not work. I know a lot of people are very down on the move just because they're so used to Belichick running an operation similar to the Patriot way and stuff. But a lot of different things had to fall into place for that. In college, the structure, the overall football structure is different. And now you added in what you just mentioned with the NIL. I don't know how that's going to work, but nobody really knows how it's going to work. All you just know is that you're going to just coach and motivate guys and get them to play football as best as they can so that way they can be exposed at a higher level. And I think Bill Belichick is the perfect candidate for any job to do that. That's why I wanted him here in Cincinnati post the situation move if we were to move on from a Zach Taylor and the rest of the coaching staff and bring in someone with that expertise and that understanding of mental toughness and knowledge. We'll see how it pans out for him. And to your point about Eric Bieniemy, a lot of people are crying out for him to come back to the NFL. That he should have had a head coaching job. Look, I'll just say this: if there was going to be a head coaching opportunity for him, he would have already had it by now. I think at this point now, too many elbows have been rubbed the wrong way for Eric Bieniemy. He once upon a time ago was one of the candidates that interviewed for our head coaching job in 2019, and the Bengals passed up on him, and a lot of teams did, and it's just because I don't know the reasoning behind why, but it just wasn't coming across as positive as people may have thought. Even though the offenses may have looked to be like it could be, warrant that type of opportunity. But the reality is, man, look, I wish for him to be nothing but successful, but it may not happen for him. Maybe he just need to come back as a quarterback's coach or whatnot, rework himself up from there. And I can be wrong, but I think that the Eric Bieniemy ship has sailed, and I don't think the Bengals fans need to be lobbying for that in the future. If we need to make a change at that coordinator position, I think we just need to move on, respectfully from that, and understand that we got other options. So, we got our boy Austin Zart in the chat today. Thank you so much, Austin, for continuing joining us as always. Hooday to you, and I know he got the can't believe Bill Belichick's coaching the college team. Like I said, I thought it was a joke too, but I thought it was a joke too. I didn't think it was going to be a real thing. But anyways, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to dive into this Tennessee Titans matchup. And then we're going to close out the show, round off some final thoughts, give you guys some more of our predictions. And then hopefully we'll be able to see if the Bengals can come out from another win, man. Let's do it. We'll be right back. All right. We are back. Thank you so much for joining us on Running Through the Jungle podcast. This is your boy once again, Justin Lacey with Tim Lyons. Brandon will be back with us. We are going to join. He is going to join with us again when we get ready to go into our Wrong Reaction show. He just couldn't be here tonight. You guys can deal with it. It's fine. All right. It's fine.
You'll be all right.
Yeah, you guys will be fine. He has some important business to take care of, man. My brother, man, he got engaged. You know what I mean? So he's doing some business, making sure that he's taking a look at some venues for this wedding coming up.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to invite me to that wedding. I'm sure he might invite you, Tim, huh?
I don't know. Who knows? Who knows about this guy?
Man, all I just look for is this, bro. Make it legendary and let us see pictures.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all I'm asking for.
Yeah, I'm happy for him and Jess, and congratulations. However you guys decided to do it with a bang.
Oh, for sure, man. And what was your wedding like? I'm curious.
My wife and I. So here's a little story. My wife and I, we met in April. We got married in January. We went to Reno,
Nevada.
Yeah, sorry, Reno, Nevada. We hopped off a plane, and that was on the 2nd. We ran to the courthouse, got our marriage certificate, ran to the White Lace Chapel of Love, walked in there, got married. The doors were still swinging when we came out, and we've been married for almost 16, 17 years now. 17 years now.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. It don't have to be this big extravaganza thing to where you got to drop like $100,000 in fees.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I like those kind of weddings. I've attended many of those weddings of friends and families and stuff like that went the whole 9 yards for their wedding day. But
I did that my first marriage, and this one, I'm glad we did it that way. We had a blast. We went to Reno and we gambled and got married, and it was a great time.
Yeah, I'm still looking for my experience in my moment. I'm looking forward to that, so I can have a story to tell. You know what I mean? I'm still not married yet, but I'm going to get
one
there.
Of these days. Don't rush it.
I'm going to get there. Yeah, but it's exciting times, man. So Brandon, once again, man, just as long as you're having a great story to tell and send some pictures so we can see what's up. You know what I mean? We definitely appreciate, and are definitely congratulating, happy for you and Jess, man. You guys are going to do fantastic things and some legendary things as a couple.
Yep.
All right. On to other things that we like and other matchups that we like. Okay. At least I'm going to assume that you like this matchup. Okay. So we got the Tennessee Titans on deck here this upcoming Sunday. We're going back to Nashville, man. Can we see this?
Going to Nashville, right?
Thank you. Thank you.
Can we see it? It's every year. It's either we're in Kansas City or we're in Nashville. Can we not play a game in Cincinnati?
It's become an absolute at this point. Last year we played them in Nashville. In 2022 we played them in Nashville. In 2021 the playoff run we played them in Nashville. In 2020
but in 2021 they got their ass kicked in Nashville and lost that. They were the number 1 seed too. Remember that? We came into town and kicked that ass.
Yeah, and then in 2020, that was the last time we saw this matchup in Cincinnati. And it was a fun fact: the Bengals were 1-5, the Titans were 5-1. And Joe Burrow got like that. That was the first time that I felt like Joe Burrow truly has that power to elevate those around and beat a better team. And it was crazy because all 5 of his starting linemen was hurt that game. All 5 of them. That was before we invested any sort of draft capital with them. He had Billy Price as a backup center starting. And he ended up putting out a crazy show. That was before the Jamar Chase and stuff like that. Man, that was a great game. I remember that. But that was the last time we saw this matchup in Cincy. I need to see this matchup in Cincy again at some point because it's getting frustrating having to play this Titans team in Nashville. Don't get me wrong. It's a great trip. It's a short trip and a short drive for Cincy fans here or people that's local here in Cincinnati. Nashville is only about 4.5 hours away. Yeah, I've been there myself. It's a great city, and I love it. But at the same time,
I've never been in Nashville ever, so I always hear it's a good place to go to.
Well, and also too, and I get it too. Like with you being in the Pacific Northwest, man, like if you're going to make a flight out to the East Coast or the Central Time Zone, unless it's a pertinent reason of why you would need to fly into Nashville, you're probably not going to do it. It's going to be a flyover city for you. But if you
and for us, I grew up in Ohio, my whole childhood life. For 18 years I lived there, and we never went to Nashville. We always went to Pigeon Forge and Dollywood,
Gatlinburg,
and all that, and Smoky Mountains and all that stuff. We never went to Nashville, but yeah, I hear it's a nice place.
Yeah, no, it's completely different. The Smoky Mountains and Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge, it is a completely different geographical area and even a whole region as opposed to the Nashville side of things. Nashville is like if you're familiar with the Kentucky landscape, Kentucky is just rectangle state. It's the bluegrass state, whatever. On one far side, you got Lexington. On the far other side, you got Louisville. That's where the dividing line. If you take the Louisville, Kentucky side, that's the short, straight shot to Nashville from there. And if you're going to Gatlinburg and stuff, then you're going to take the other side. But that's when you want to get your more mountainy regions. People that travel in that region want to stay in the mountains and stuff. And don't get me wrong, the city atmosphere in Nashville is fun, but you rather be in like the cabins in the mountains and hiking and stuff. And that's where you get a lot of the more adventuristic feel for it. But again, I've been down there. It's a great city, but I know we talked a lot about the destination of itself. But let's get into the matchup here because look, we got some former Bengal Titans here, that former Bengal Titans connections, starting with obviously their head coach, former Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan, first year as a head coach. It's not going so well for them this year.
No.
They're having a rebuilding kind of season. Will Levis has struggled mightily as a quarterback, but he's had his moments, like he has his hot and cold moments where he will look good one week, but for the most part, it's just they're struggling on offense. You got a boy, Tyler Boyd, he's there. Chidobe Awuzie, he's also there. He also recorded an interception, but for the most part, he's been on IR for the majority of the season. And quite frankly, they're just here's what I do like about the Titans. I liked their draft coming into the season. I thought that they were going to be one of those dark horse teams that can contend in the AFC South. Maybe not necessarily win the division, but can contend. They got your guys like T'Vondre Sweat through the draft. J.C. Latham was their first-round draft pick. And I thought that with those 2 picks alone was going to help transform their trenches moving forward. They still got Jeffrey Simmons there, man. A lot of Bengals fans want him in the trade deal.
And they got Harold Landry still, and they still have
Hooker. Harold Landry is there too. They just don't got Tierra Tart, who was a free agent, this past offseason. So, but this is a far different team that we've seen from when they were coached under Mike Vrabel. And I feel like that when Mike Vrabel was coaching this team, they had an added toughness dimension. And I feel like that now I'm not going to sit there and act like I've watched every single Titans game. I haven't. But it feels like that every time that I've seen the Titans and felt like that I've watched them up front, they could have it, but they still are missing something. They don't have really any weapons that scare me. Again, I know they got our boy Tyler Boyd there, but I'm not really all too frightened or threatened by their weapons of choice. Tim, what do you know? Just giving your overview before we dive into the concerns here. What is your thought process on just the Titans in general?
Well, I was concerned with Brian Callahan going to be a head coach.
Mm-hmm.
He was our offensive coordinator, but he brought in a whole new, different level of being a head coach and calling his offense because they're really basically a running team. They're not a
Yeah.
passing team.
Yeah.
And that might be because they have Will Levis, the Mayo boy himself. But they brought over Calvin Ridley and Tyler Boyd. Yeah, okay. And they brought over Pollard from the Dallas Cowboys, running
Mm-hmm.
back, which is he's having a decent year. I think he's like
Oh yeah, they
ninth
do got
in
Tory
rushing with like
Pollard. Yeah.
900 and some yards rushing. But they're basically their offense is based off the run. They're not a pass first. They will run the ball. And then of course they have their veterans on defense with Hooker and Simmons and Landry and oh goodness, all those other guys. Sweat they brought over. J.C. Latham. I'll get into that when we come up to our matchup
Opportunities.
opportunities.
Yeah.
But I'll get to him when we get to that. But anyways, but Titans matchup concern. My only matchup concern is their defense versus our offense. Their defense is actually ranked like 14th in the NFL. They kept the Jaguars last week to 10 points. Awuzie did get an interception. I know Hooker's got 4 interceptions for the year. So their defense over the past years, we know when Vrabel was their head coach, they were dogs. They were coming to eat. They were bringing the house. So I don't know if the defensive coordinator is still the same from last year or not. But if it is, I'm sorry, I really haven't really looked at much Titans stuff because they're 3-9, something like that, 10, I don't know. But anyways, they're having an awful year. But if they have that same, okay, so 3-10. So if they have that same defensive coordinator, I'm going to expect the same kind of defense. They're going to be bringing the blitz. They're going to be bringing a lot of pressure up on Joe Burrow. That's my biggest matchup concern.
All right. So on a large part, I do agree with you here. Really, anybody that goes against our Bengals defense, in spite of what you saw on Monday night and them stepping up in certain critical ways against the Cowboys, anybody that goes against this Bengals defense is concerning for me. I did look up their depth chart just a few moments ago, and I did see that they still have Calvin Ridley. I forgot that he was a guy that's catching passes from him. But like you said, Tony Pollard, he's having a pretty solid year, 937 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns all in the season. The guy, and you got Tajay Spears, who when he came in some sort of backup duty for Derrick Henry last year when they stomped us, Tajay Spears was the one that was like the flash and was the lightning bolt to Derrick Henry's thunder last year. So that does concern me on the strength of where if the defense if they don't really rally around and get ready to stop the run early on, it can be another long day for this Bengals defensive front again. And quite frankly, that is only my number one concern that I have. Their defense in total, as far as like the secondary goes, again, I'm not really all too sure exactly what it is that I need to be fearful of outside of Jeffrey Simmons. I just look at the defense and I just think like, okay, they got some guys here. I like their linebacking core, but Kenneth Murray was considered all but a bust with the LA Chargers. He found a home in with the Titans, but I don't think that he's lived up to the billing so far as the first round draft choice that he was selected. And it looks like he's questionable to even play in this game. I do like Harold Landry. Cheeto, when I look at Cheeto, and I know a lot of Bengals fans are in tune with Cheeto, but if you are of the mind frame of we never should have let Cheeto walk because look at how Cam Taylor-Britt is playing, again, it's one of those things that you're just only a prisoner of what's transpired since then, instead of looking what happened and the reason why Cheeto is not on this team no more, and that he was a guy that I was 100% comfortable letting walk in free agency. The reality was he wasn't good anymore. He lost a step after he suffered that brutal that MCL Achilles injury that ended his 2023 season, if I'm not mistaken, or 2022 season. And when he came back to 2023 season just last year, man, he was giving up so many explosive plays to the point where it's like we can't have you as our number one corner. And we thought that Cam Taylor-Britt was showing a steady rise and was getting ready to ascend. He took over as the number one guy last year, and we were happy about that. Pair that up with the other young corners. I was fine with the Bengals moving off from Cheeto. I understand Cheeto is a chess master, is a chess whiz. He's great in the locker room with a lot of those other guys that we had, but it was a point where we needed to move on from him. And now the Titans have him as their starting corner. And quite frankly, he hasn't shown much promise, and he's coming off another injury. And again, I understand he got an interception, but at the same time, the ball will bounce into Lucky's hand in the bad cornerback's hand once upon it every so often. Geno Stone just got a pick. Okay, that should tell you all you need to know about interceptions. They're overrated. Unless you're a ball hawk and you're really fetching after these turnovers, it is what it is. I'm not really going to put so much stock into that. But other than that, I do think that they're going to have their hands full going against the Bengals offense. Brian Callahan said in his press conference today is that Joe Burrow is an MVP. He would be the MVP of this league. And he's a guy that I know him very well. He's a guy that will keep you up at night. And I am going to have sleepless nights trying to game plan for him. And I used to coach him. And that's some pretty glowing words to say coming from their head coach who used to be our coordinator and stuff. And obviously I root for Brian Callahan to have success. But the only true concern that I have is relatively just making Will Levis look like he's going to have one of those franchise quarterback looking moments against our defense. You remember how Baker Mayfield just used to always just light it up against the Bengals, but never against like the Steelers or the Ravens? That's my only concern that I truly fear when we go against him. Because he has a rocket of an arm for real. Yeah, Mayo Boy.
Yeah.
He can probably become spicy. He can become spicy mayonnaise when he goes against this Bengals defense.
He can come out these sriracha mayo.
Yeah, sriracha sauce mayo. That's what I don't want, man.
Yeah.
Oh man. But shame on you, Will Levis, for even making the price of mayo go up because of your endorsement deals with them. Now I got to be able to find a substitute for mayonnaise, and when I go to the store and shop, I hope he loses just because of that, man. I'm so tired of those mayo commercials. They're pointless. Hey, he was known for putting mayo in coffee, and now all of a sudden, I got to pay $3 extra just to buy a can of mayo.
That's
a jar of mayo. Like
that's just disgusting. Okay, anyway. If you put mayo in your coffee, you're disgusting.
Right, man. Anyway, we're going to get into some matchup opportunities here. All right, let me start with you, Tim. What are your number one? What are your top two opportunities? Or actually, you know what? We ain't going to do no shackles like that. Just give me your opportunities of what you see this Bengals team against this Titans team.
So, like I was going to get into, J.C. Latham. So, J.C. Latham, rookie. We all thought he was going to be, a great addition to the Tennessee Titans. But believe it or not, he's probably one of the worst left tackles in the game right now. He's let Will Levis get sacked 13 times this year. That's a lot of sacks. He is not doing a really good job. So that being said, our matchup opportunity is, if you guys saw my title, actually it's gone, but it says Trey Hendrickson, or let Trey Hendrickson feast. That's what my title is, because I think Trey Hendrickson's going to have a hell of a game on Sunday. I think he's going to have at least 2.5 sacks and maybe a fumble. But yeah, I think he's going to tear up J.C. Latham. And then our other opportunity, I'm going to say, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. I think that's a different level that people are not prepared for, and they're not, even though our defense has not been cooking, too well. Hopefully we can keep the run game at bay, because with Pollard and Spears, those two worry me because of the run game. But, I think our greatest opportunity is going to be Trey Hendrickson. And I'm going to say it now, Trey Hendrickson's getting my defensive game ball. I'm just going to say it now.
I mean, at this point, you can't really go. Somebody will have to truly step up and really take the game ball away from Trey Hendrickson if they're going to get it from that defensive side. We're going to predict that.
Right.
Look, for me, my opportunity is on offense for the Bengals. I think that they have a way of being able to exploit this Titans secondary. But at the end of the day, this does come from, can they protect Joe Burrow long enough? The interior of the Bengals offensive line is still atrocious. And they've had problems in the past with being able to block guys like Jeffrey Simmons in the past. Last year's game, when it looked like that first drive of the Bengals, just kind of give it like a small little quick synopsis of how last year went. The Bengals got the ball to start the game. They went right down the field and just sliced up that Titans defense like it was butter. Only ended up with 3 points. Since then, all it was just pressure. And then next thing you know, no more scores the rest of the game. The Titans ended up ballooning into a 27-3 win. And that's how they ended up defeating us last year. And we just snowballed out of control. You want to avoid stuff like that by getting Joe Burrow, by not allowing their defensive front to cause the interior havoc, to get that pressure up the middle, which they are pretty good at, and causing Joe Burrow to be able to throw off rhythm off his spot. If you can properly block, okay, just speaking only to the interior here, if you can, and left tackle, because Cody Ford, you still suck. Anyway, if you can properly block and give Joe Burrow time, he's shown the ability and willpower to be able to escape out of pressure and all that stuff. He will find the open guys. My main opportunity is T. Higgins in this game. I think that Jamar Chase is going to be such on high alert in their film room, because Mike Zimmer, former Bengals defense coordinator for the Cowboys, selfishly decided to put him single cover. They thought that they had the horses to go with them, and they didn't. It's tough because Jamar is one of those players where you just do not know how to prepare until you actually line up against him. And then by the time you finally get the book out on him, it's going to be too late. He's already going to eclipse over 60, 80 yards on you. And other guys are going to be ready to feast now. But I think This is the game right here that I think T. Higgins may have the opportunity to be able to match up one-on-one against Cheeto or against their other cornerbacks, Roger McCreary and Darrell Baker Jr. Okay. Mm-hmm. They don't really have the strongest of secondary. They used to have Christian Fulton there, but he's not a free. He went into a free agent. We just played him too. It's crazy. Christian Fulton. I forgot where he played. It'll come to me later on. But Christian Fulton is not there no more. And that was a draft. That was a first-round draft pick that the Titans had invested in back in 2021, I believe. Or 2020.
Didn't Justin Reed go to the Titans?
He was a Texan. He was with the Texans.
Oh, Texans.
That's he was with the Texans. But nonetheless, man, I just feel like that, the Titans secondary, again, there's not a ton of talent there, and when it comes to secondary, and it creates for another a lucrative opportunity for this passing game to have yet another productive day. Because at this point, we're only really watching this Bengals team for Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow just to see and accelerate through these numbers. I want Jamar to win the Triple Crown. I want Joe Burrow to lead the league in passing yards and touchdowns. They need those all-pro nods and stuff. That's why we're watching these games, because if the Bengals not going to make the playoffs, bro, I at least need to be able to watch some historic stat lines on the way towards the season's end. None of these 19 to 17 wins, but Joe only has 180 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. I don't want to see that. I want to see domination. I want to see domination across the stat sheet with these guys here, man. And I think this will be a game I believe that T. Higgins will reemerge himself as a viable option, because he was a disappearing act against the Cowboys. Again, not to his fault, but it was because Jamar was just that damn good, and Joe just kept wanting to go to him.
Mm-hmm. It was Sneed. It was Lanier Sneed who.
L'Jarius Sneed. Oh!
Yeah, he went to the Titans. He's on the IR.
He's on IR, right?
I was like, somebody's missing. I'm like, somebody from the Chiefs went to the Titans during the offseason.
Oh, man.
I had to look. I was like, well, why isn't he in his depth chart? Well, then I went down to the IR, and I was like, oh, Lanier Sneed, there he is. He's on IR.
Yeah. And I forgot Quandre Diggs is on IR too. That would see.
Yeah, but Diggs was nothing here in Seattle though. Quandre Diggs, he was trash in here in Seattle. People wanted to get rid of him many years ago.
Yeah, so their big ticketed free agent acquisition was L'Jarius Sneed, and they thought that they were going to have him replicate the success. See, Bengals fans, look. We talk trash all the time about the players that don't work out here in Cincinnati, but we also got to pay credit and respect for when we do get free agents that do work out here, like a BJ Hill in the trade, like Trey Hendrickson. That's obvious. But the Titans signed L'Jarius Sneed to a big ass contract, and he's on IR. And even before he even went on IR, he didn't even play good. the Chiefs really fleeced them in that deal.
Yeah.
There was a reason why the Kansas City Chiefs didn't sign them to an extension. You know, they had to make a tough decision with that. So the front office moves and all that stuff, I caution you just to be really understanding that it's not a woe is me or thinking that it's only in Cincinnati that this stuff happens. No, man, this stuff happens all across the league, man. It's absolved if you win more than you lose. And right now we're just losing more than we win in this season. So, but again, I rest our cases. But anyways, let's go into predictions, man. Let's get ready to wrap up here. So, all right, I'll start with you. What is your offense? We already gave your defense game ball prediction. We're both in agreement here. Trey Henderson, he's going to be the prediction. Okay, I'm not messing around with this. I'm not going to try to get creative with this. Who is your offensive game ball prediction?
Offensive game ball is going to go Jamar Chase is who it's going to go to. You know, he's like I said yesterday on Roaring Reactions. Like I said all year long, pretty much Jamar Chase is the greatest wide receiver in the game right now. I'm going to say Jamar Chase is going to get my offensive game ball.
Yeah, I'm going to go the other receiver here. I'm going to give T. Higgins the opportunity to get a game ball with this one. I think that he is the matchup opportunity, as I mentioned, when it came to the opportunities of exploiting these matchups. I think that it's going to be probably the T show this time. But trust me, I'm going to be still looking for Jamar to get those receptions and get those numbers. You know what I mean? So
and that's the thing is me, you know, I'm picking Jamar Chase, but I'm actually looking for Gesicki to get those numbers because you know, if they put him in the slot, and because if I remember in years past, Tyler Boyd usually had pretty damn good games against the Titans as a slot wide receiver. So if Gesicki is in there as our slot wide receiver, there's a possibility that Gesicki could have a good game. But Jamar Chase is my offensive game ball.
Yeah, I like Gesicki, but my only issue is that the Bengals personnel on the coaching staff, they just don't play him enough, man, for me. And that just makes me upset because he is absolutely a guy that's a viable threat in the slot or just down the seam. He'll make big catches. He's a red zone target. He's all of that. But it's really frustrating that every time that I see the Bengals starting lineup that they're putting Drew Sample out there over Gesicki. And that's the kind of stuff where it's like, all right, I'm getting kind of frustrated seeing this. But the X factor is Chase Brown. Chase Brown is that dog, bro. And it is so nice it's so nice to finally have another option that's developed into the core roots of this system. It's really nice to be able to have somebody that you can be looking like, hey, you know what? If we need to get a play made, if they've bracket covered Jamar Chase, they've isolated T. Higgins on this side, safety help over the top. Chase Brown is quick and lucrative and elusive enough to he can catch a quick 1 yard pass and take it 8 yards. You know, it's stuff like that we've been hoping to see out of somebody else within this team, and others just haven't really stepped up in place of that. And Chase Brown has been that guy. If everybody's looking for a number 3 receiver, well, what if it's Chase Brown? Because he has been that guy. So that's an X factor prediction as well too. I mean, he's shown that he's very, very reliable. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, score predictions here. I'll about lead off with this one.
Well, are you going to give your defensive game ball? I already gave my.
We both said Trey.
Oh, you said Trey as well.
Yeah, I said I'm not messing with this one. We're just sticking with Trey.
All right, Trey.
Yeah, I'm not betting no Joseph Asai. I'm not betting no damn sure. I'm not betting no guys like no Jermaine Pratt or Gino. No, nobody else deserves a prediction from me no more. I don't care. I will give them flowers if they ultimately end up showing up and stepping up. We'll do that. But I'm
actually, you know what? Speaking of the defensive side of the ball, real quick. I'm actually hoping to see John Meta out there a little bit more this week. I loved him during the preseason. It's time to let that boy cook. It's time to let him go out there and play some football. So that's what I'm hoping to see.
If Muma John Meta comes out and becomes a viable threat on his defense, if he records a sack this Sunday, I will paint my face orange and black with Muma on it. I don't care. I need him to be something.
You guys see what he said? Hey, on minute 59, he said if this happens, he's painting his face orange and black.
I will paint my face on the Roaring Reaction show and be like, Mooma, Mooma. I will do that, hands down. Even if it's a pick or a turnover, whatever. If he makes a true impact play on defense, I will do that. And because he will be my defensive pick at that point. But score prediction wise, I'm going to go Bengals win this game. Obviously, I think they're obviously the better team. Even though there's no gimmies in this league, they've shown you that they can lose games that they have no business losing. But they also have, I think that they understand that. Look, man, the pressure's off as far as like trying to get into the playoffs, and you got to prove that you can go out there and play your best football, and you're better than this Titans team, even if it's on the road. And if you have any shot at winning the playoffs, getting to the playoffs, you can't lose any more games. So. Right. I tend to take that and understand that the Bengals know what's at stake here. I'm not going to go a full-blown domination win, even though I'm wishing for that. I think that the Bengals win, I'll say 24-17.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, I'm gonna go on the way that you were going or you wanted to go, because I believe that this is going to be a game that Joe Burrow takes control of it. I say it's going to be 38-24. I think we win. We show actually a dominant win. Our defense hasn't been playing too well, so I see some 3 and outs for the Titans and some punting and stuff. But I think this week Joe Burrow capitalizes on his scoring drives. I'm going to say, you know what? I'm also going to go a little bit further. I'm going to say we punt the ball twice this week. That's it. Twice.
Punt it twice.
Twice.
Yeah, that's a good prediction. And look, I'm rooting for a blowout. I just know that until I see it, I'm not going to predict it. Now, we did see them blow out the Raiders, when they were here in Cincinnati and whatnot. But again, did that really make you feel good? No. And nothing's going to change if the Bengals go out there and kick this Titans team's ass on Sunday. Nothing's going to change until you get that one critical win. Get me to the Denver game. If that Denver game matters and you pull that game out, because now that's this new standard. Then that's when it's going to be like, okay, maybe the Bengals are on to something here. But for this time being, I'm still going to be coming away from it like just the season was still a failure. It was a disappointment. But at the end of the day, you still performed and you played well. But, and if you lose, then you're officially eliminated out of playoff contention. But
we need a lot of stuff to happen in order for us to even make it to the playoffs.
Right.
A lot of we need to win these next 4 games, and we need some teams to lose and fall on their faces these next 4 games. There's a lot that it could happen, but if it doesn't happen, I'm not going to be mad about it because we're already having a bad season, so it is what it is.
Right. And at the end of the day, we already understand that changes need to be made with this team already, but you know what? Right now, we're just in it for the fun aspect of it because Joe and Jamar are playing at skyrocketing levels of achievement. They're obviously going to be Pro Bowl bids for to make the Pro Bowl. Jamar with the All-Pro bid, and I just want to see this team light it up.
Yeah, I just want to see Jamar Chase get that triple crown. I want to see Jamar Chase get that triple crown.
Thank you.
That's all I want to see. And of course, I want to see Joe Burrow lead the league in passing and touchdowns.
Right.
That's what I want to see. Even though he's having I'm sorry. I'm not going to say he's having. The defense is having a bad year, and we're losing games that we should be winning. But I still want to see Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase be successful and keep this going. Joe Burrow's probably going to get comeback player of the year. Jamar Chase could get something, but I have a feeling Saquon's going to take the offensive player of the year. But who knows?
Yeah, like I said, I'm in it for those 2 guys for the rest of the way. And obviously I'm going to be rooting for this team to be successful. However, if it shakes out the way that way, I will be floored by it just because Jamar's worked so hard. You need to be able to achieve these personal goals, and he deserves the bag in the offseason. But look, guys, I want to thank you all for joining us. This has been Run Through the Jungle with me and your boy Tim. We'll be back on Sunday evening or Sunday afternoon, whatever displays, however we decide to garner out
Monday.
Reactions.
It all depends on Brandon.
It does, but me and you can take the center stage if we need to because he get married.
Right. Well, he's not getting married this weekend, but
he's going to go see a baby. He's planning his.
Let's not give him too much string. Let's not give him too much string. Come on.
He's in the planning phase of being ready to get married. Now, I guess that's the proper way to say it. But we'll be back for our Roar Reaction show. Win, lose, or draw. You'll see us. You'll see our faces here. And then we'll be able to dive deep into the game with the analytics and all that good stuff. But other than that, man, we thank you so much. Be sure to, once again, comment, subscribe, rate, and review. Please share. Ding that notification bell so you will know when we go live and we give you this content. You got Tim out here doing this Who Dey Weekly. You got Pay Dirt with our boy Pay and Brandon. They giving you all the tidbits and the nuggets of betting. I'm not good at betting. I should listen to that show a little bit more because I suck.
I think they were 4-2. If I remember correctly, Brandon said they were 4-2 last week, so that's pretty damn good. Hey, you bet on 6 games and win. Put 6 bets in, you win 4 of those. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, because I'm 0-11 in parlays all time. I have never won a single parlay.
Ouch.
Awesome, guys. All right, we'll check you guys later, man. You guys have a good one, and we'll see you on Sunday as we do our Rome Reaction show.